Therefore, be it collectively and resoundingly resolved that this House grants me leave to introduce a private member's bill for an act entitled the Anti-Homosexuality Bill, a draft of which is hereto attached, and do order the publication of the said bill in preparation for the first reading. I beg to move, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Is the motion seconded? Is the motion seconded? Seconded by Honorable Nambeshe Jonathan, Honorable Nsaba Buturo, Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Itungo, Honorable Pendi, Honorable Father Nen, by the whole House. Even Honorable Senyon, even Honorable. Okay. As I said before, we should be counted. We should be counted. And we are going to vote by show of hands on this matter. Would you love to speak to your motion?
Right Honourable Speaker.
Briefly.
It is common knowledge that homosexuality has become a cancer. In this country or in this world, we talk about human rights. But it is also true that there are human wrongs. I want to submit, Right Honourable Speaker, that homosexuality is a human wrong that needs to be tackled through a piece of legislation. Right Honourable Speaker, this House had an opportunity to correct the anomaly then. That opportunity was lost, and the Constitutional Court nullified the law. We now have another opportunity to follow all the procedures to have a law regulating homosexuality. Right Honourable Speaker, what we need to do, Right Honourable Speaker, is that...
Did you say you want us to regulate homosexuality? We do not want homosexuality.
No. Right Honourable Speaker, a law to prohibit homosexuality.
To prohibit, yes.
A law to prohibit homosexuality by way of regulation, obviously. Right Honourable Speaker, the law we are talking about is not new. When this country was colonized by the British, they actually left a law with us on homosexuality. In fact, the Penal Code Act that the colonizers left in this country banned homosexuality, criminalized homosexuality. What we are trying to do is to look at the present circumstances and situations where there is now recruitment, promotion, and funding. So we want to look at this colonial law and have it in tandem with the current circumstances and situations. It is on that background, Right Honourable Speaker, that I beseech colleagues to join me in ensuring that we have a new law that addresses that cancer. I beg to submit, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honorable Jonathan, as a seconder, the regulator. Father Nen, you will speak briefly.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in law, they say the facts speaks for itself.
Yes.
Honorable colleagues are aware. We have been seeing over social media, we have been seeing victims, we have been seeing young children, we have seen schools that are being threatened. So I think at this opportunity, the best time to deal with this matter decisively has now come. So I second and urge you to support the member who is prohibiting the homosexuality.
No, he withdrew it. He withdrew it. Hey, he prohibited.
Yes, to prohibit.
Okay.
I kindly ask honorable members to support, please.
Thank you. Father Nen. Members, we is seeking for leave. You have half a minute.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. It was stood on procedural point because this issue at hand, it is a very contentious issue. It's uploaded there on the computer. It is showing that I am the mover of this motion
It
I don't
doesn't
want-
matter.
Yes, but my
It
fear
is not the computer that is chairing the house.
So,
Okay?
Right Honorable Speaker,
Are you seconding or you?
yes, I am here to second.
If you want to
Um,
speak about the movership, then you first sit. Okay?
I'm seconding, but I want to
Second, speak about your second.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The issue at hand is a public secret already, and we need to treat this as an act of terror on our children. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, during my second degree course in Urban University, Rome, I studied comparative studies of religions, and I learned that homosexuality is completely incompatible with the sacred scriptures, the Bible and the Quran. When you look at the Quran, Al-Haraf, Surah Al-Haraf 780 to 81, it says homosexuality, it is an haram, it is an act of haram, totally forbidden. And also in the Bible, we have the Quran here, even also in the Bible, the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed because of the political and religious negligence of the people of the time. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, Uganda belongs to God. And our motto is very clear: for God and my country. We need to be true and honest to our motto and our profession. Right Honorable Speaker, Uganda's Vision 2040 states that by 2040, Uganda must have a healthy and productive population. This is one of the goals of Uganda Vision 2040. And my fear is by 2040, because of the increase in homosexuality, we shall be having a population of men and women.
You're not speaking to the microphone.
Okay.
Can you conclude?
Men and women will be putting on pampers. Right Honorable Speaker. And honorable colleagues, the essence of morality, the essence of humanity is preservation of life. The essence of humanity is preservation of life, which is only guaranteed through procreation. When you look at homosexuality, LGBTQ, Right Honorable Speaker, there's no essence. Because by definition, homosexuality, it is a mere sexual attraction and romantic sexual attraction to people of the same sex. There is no essence. It cannot guarantee the continuity of the families. It cannot guarantee.
Thank you, Honorable. You will have more time to speak about homosexuality. And as Honorable Jonathan says, facts speak for themselves. There are some things you don't even speak. You don't even need to speak about them so much because they are ugly. They are so dirty. So we know about homosexuality. Let's leave it as it is. Let's go to the committee and pass the bill. Yes, gender, Whopper, 1 minute.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to thank you very much for finally having this matter.
There's a procedure matter.
Madam Speaker, we passed a law here. We are not going to be doing something new. That government there of NRM connived with some people. They went to court and nullified it. They are now, all of them are quiet.
Do you have evidence to that effect?
I have evidence. I have evidence.
Honorable Semuju, let's not start making a presumption.
Yeah, all I am asking, Madam Speaker,
Since the whole government is here, from Prime Minister to Attorney General, can they tell us why they are not supporting this?
That Prime Minister stood up. The Prime Minister stood up. She supported. The Prime Minister supported the motion.
That honorable Speaker and colleagues, I know my brother, he has to talk about the Prime Minister, because that's how he's seen. He's clamoring for recognition.
Honorable Sarah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I do stand to support the motion and to say that God created man and woman for a purpose. He created the animals all paired. He did not create and asked man to be in charge and take care together with Eve, to be in charge and take care of this universe. It is very unfortunate, Right Honorable Speaker, that the people who brought religion to this country and told us about Jesus Christ and how we should live, and even left in our penal code criminalizing the homosexuality in this country, today have turned around and are trying to create, or tell our people that it is normal to live and get married to a fellow man, or a woman getting married to a fellow woman. Right Honorable Speaker, we need to stand as Ugandans and condemn this act, and we are here, Right Honorable Speaker, to protect our children. The promotion of homosexuality is not in any legislation, and therefore we must also make it an offense for those who are promoting this amongst our children today in schools. I want to call upon the government to stand firm and not be tempted because of money that may be thrown around. We can actually live, Right Honorable Speaker, within our means. So, Right Honorable Speaker, let us all stand up to protect the vulnerable children. And I want to ask the police, Right Honorable Speaker, the NGO board, and all those concerned, that even with existing law, those who are sodomizing children are actually not being taken, they are not being tried in the courts of law. They are actually being protected, Right Honorable Speaker. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I support the motion and we shall stand firm. Our African and Uganda and family values.
Thank you so much. As much as we ask government to stand firm, not to get the financial rewards, I also ask you, members of parliament, stand firm, don't go for financial rewards. Don't allow to be bribed by these people in the name of selling your cultures. I have already communicated. I have members here who go soliciting for money from accounting officers. I am going to discipline members. I will name and shame. We appropriate for money in this parliament, and we have money for benchmarking. This business of going to accounting officers, and I'm warning accounting officers, whoever we get doing that, will hold them accountable. But desist from the money for homosexuality. they will come running to you, members of parliament. But remember, you're a voice of the voiceless. You're speaking for the people outside there who cannot speak for this. I now put a question that Honorable Suman Basalira be granted leave of this House to introduce a private member's bill, the Anti-Homosexuality Bill 2023. Those in favor stand the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. You can now go and prepare for your bill.
Statement by Minister on the status of national roads.
Honorable Minister of Works, honorable members, you will recall the concern was raised in this House and has been raised in several occasions in regards to the roads in this country. And you know how many people have gotten accidents on those roads. Today we'll get a status report from the minister in regard to the roads.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, there's been a number of questions on this floor raised about roads. And we did agree that let me bring a very detailed report on the floor in regard to roads in this country. Right Honorable Speaker, I hope that my report has been uploaded on the iPad because we sent it long ago, and I'll proceed. Introduction. Following the midterm review of the NDP3 by the National Planning Authority, that doesn't seem to be the report I'm reading.
Are we having the same report?
Right Honorable Speaker, I sent this report to be uploaded on the 30th of January. That's the report I sent. That one was a long time ago report, and it was about when we had issues on the road network because of the rains. But this is a detailed report which I was instructed to bring, and I submitted it for upload on the 30th of January, 2023.
We actually have a different report. Yes, Honorable Patrick.
Yes, Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker,
Honorable Minister, you could first have a seat.
I had special interest in the roads sector because of the state of the roads in Kasanda, Madam Speaker. I tried at 1:45 to look for a report from the minister. It was not uploaded. I'm surprised to hear that he says, making a statement that he uploaded it on the 30th, but by on the 10th. So by 1:45, the report was not there. So please confirm. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, can we reconcile with the clerk's office on which report is more current? Honorable Minister, reconcile with the clerk's office as we proceed, and it will come. Honorable members, in the public VIP gallery this afternoon, we have a delegation from Uganda Cooperative Savings and Credit Union. That include Honorable Bintu Jalia, Emeritus. Welcome. Honorable Bagonza Stephen, Vice Chairperson, and then Mr. Sylvester, the CEO. You're most welcome. Still in the public gallery this afternoon, we have a family members, friends, and constituents of Serere County Member of Parliament. Please stand up and wave to us. You're most welcome. Hey, you've come in a big number. That's very good. You're most welcome. And when you go back, we wish you a safe journey. This is your parliament and we'll always be here for you. Thank you for coming. In the public gallery, there is Honorable Juma Emong Showan, the Speaker of Parliament of Bukedea, and the Clerk of Parliament. You're most welcome. In the public gallery this afternoon, we have a Guild Council of Soroti University on a field tour visit to Parliament. They are represented by Honorable Bwalu, Jonathan, and Honorable Alobo. You're most welcome, and Honorable Rico. Most welcome. Thank you for coming. Honorable, next item. Yes.
Madam Speaker, I inadvertently omitted to lay on table my motion and the bill attached. I want to seek your indulgence that I just.
Please lay, because you are talking about regulating. That's why you forgot.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on table the motion.
Yeah, please lay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I have known your Prime Minister to be a very obedient servant of this country, in that whenever you have given instructions, she has responded. In today's sitting, you did ask her whether she intends to make a statement about iron sheets. She omitted, and I thought would correct the record by putting the Prime Minister on record to answer whether she will make that statement or she has refused.
You know, I thought you had stopped your stubbornness. That used to be very stubborn when I was my lecturer. But it is also good you came very early. That issue was discussed before you came in. Madam Prime Minister is coming up with a statement, written statement on the issues of iron sheets. I don't want her to be got off hand. And she's the one in the kitchen. She's the one who distributes, and she will come with the statement. Honorable members, now that we are trying to reconcile with the Minister General Katumba, can we go to the next item?
Laying of papers, item 4.1.
Honorable
The annual report of the Petroleum Authority of Uganda for the year 2021-2022.
Honorable Minister of Energy and Mineral Development. Honorable Prime Minister, how many ministers do you have in energy? How many ministers do you have in energy? Can't they just come even to lay a paper? Chief Whip, apologize on behalf of your ministers. We cannot tolerate this.
Right, Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I do offer the apology on behalf of the Ministry of Energy and Minerals Development. But as you are aware, His Excellency the President is in South Africa, and the Ministry of Energy is a key ministry, and one of the ministers is there with His Excellency the President. That said, Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay on table the annual report of the Petroleum Authority of Uganda for the period 1st July 2021 to 30th June 2022. I beg to lay.
Thank you. The report stands referred to Committee of Environment and Natural Resources. And in the same vein, I've seen how long reports take in the committees. Kindly make sure that you oblige by the rules of procedure. Process these reports very fast and bring them back to the House. Yes.
Item 4.2, reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2022.
Parliamentary Commissioner.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I beg to lay the report for the Auditor General on financial statements of National Water and Sewage Corporation for the year that ended 30th June 2022. I beg to lay.
Thank you. The report is referred to Public Accounts Committee, that is Commission, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises. Kosase.
Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I also beg to lay the report of the Auditor General on the audit of the financial statements of Uganda Printing and Publishing Corporation for the year that ended 30th June 2022. I beg to lay. Right.
Thank you. Referred to Kosase.
Item 4.3, addendum to supplementary expenditure schedule.
Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on table addendum supplementary expenditure schedule number 1 for financial year 2022-2023. This is addendum schedule number 1 and addendum schedule number 2 of the same financial year. I beg to lay.
The supplementary schedule 1, addendum 1 and 2 for financial year 2022-2023 stands referred to the Committee of Budget.
Item 5, motion for adoption of the report of the ad hoc committee on the Bujagali tax waiver.
Honorable Ministers, I mean honorable members, yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I have my curiosity aroused by the presence of the Minister of Finance laying addendum to the supplementary schedule 1, and aware that today is the 28th day.
Addendum 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Thank you for your correction, Right Honorable Speaker. Aware that today is the 28th day of February, and that the minister is by law required to provide to Parliament the budget performance report before we delve into evaluation of the ministerial policy statements. The last time we had that debate, the minister said, and the same minister, that he has time. And by lapse of time, if they're not late today, the minister will be late as per the PFMA. Can we be advised whether the minister is still within the law or the law has amended when we were in recess? Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Minister. Budget performance.
The command of Section 35 of the PFMA requiring it to report on the performance of the budget.
Madam Speaker, Let me cross-check and report back to the House tomorrow.
Yes, Jonathan. What are you going to cross-check? What are you going to cross-check?
Madam Speaker.
Let's first know what is going to cross-check, because it was his word that is going to bring a report on budget performance.
Madam Speaker, yes, the law requires us to report on budget performance every 6 months or so. I need to check whether we have already submitted or not.
Jonathan, you had something to say?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the issue I had was how this very supplementary addendums laid here already found itself before the budget committee. I watched this minister present, and I think it's a very serious issue that this house must always take concern. How did the minister proceed before the budget committee, before laying the document here?
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, we started processing the budget, the supplementary budget last week, and this parliament was in recess, but we wrote to you and you administratively gave us a go-ahead to present before the budget committee.
I did what? Honorable members, you know, in criminality, the demeanor of the suspect is very key. My brother is not even sure what he's saying. But anyway, let's cross-check, then you come back tomorrow. Let's cross-check. Next item. Tomorrow, report back.
Item
Next
5,
item.
motion for adoption of the report of the ad hoc committee on the Bujagali
On the
tax
same
waiver.
thing. On the same thing. Okay, what is it?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for this chance.
Honorable members, don't leave the house. The issues that are going to be discussed are very important for your constituencies. This business of, and this is what the Honorable Nsababuturo was saying, this business of peeping, you peep in the house and go away. This is not a peeping center. If you're coming to the house, come and sit and finish the house, and we all leave at a go.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm raising on the procedure matter. Bearing in mind that, Madam Speaker, sometime back you ordered the Minister of Tourism to liaise with Attorney General and the people of Mpungu sub-county in Kanungu district, Chinchizi West constituency.
Aren't you smuggling in something?
No. Madam Speaker.
Under what rule?
Madam Speaker, it is something that I wouldn't do.
Can we do it tomorrow when we have somebody in tourism here?
Attorney General is here, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister, can we have tourism here tomorrow and Attorney General? Then he will raise his issue.
Okay,
thank you. Next item. Next item.
Item 5, Motion for adoption of the report of the ad hoc committee on the Bujagali tax waiver.
Honorable members, for proper context, you recall on 18th May 2022, during the consideration of the Income Tax Amendment Bill 2022, this House stayed the extension of a 5-year waiver of corporate income tax to Bujagali Energy Limited. The House instead granted 1 year pending the parliamentary inquiry into terms and conditions of the agreement between the government of Uganda and Bujagali Energies Limited and the effect of the agreement on the power tariffs in Uganda. The consideration of this report has been timed to coincide with the ongoing budgeting process so that we will be able to consider the extension. The process that we are doing now, the report that we are looking at is very, very crucial in our budgeting process. And the decisions that we take in this parliament are crucial too. Now I invite the chairman of the ad hoc committee, Honorable Kateshumba Dixon. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, isn't it procedural right for the Minister of Finance to withdraw the statement which alluded to that your administration will allow him to present, yet from your response not true? I think it's better
Did
for
I
you to
say I
withdraw.
didn't allow?
We didn't hear.
Did I say I didn't allow?
Right, Honorable Speaker, we didn't hear, Madam Speaker. So I think would have been.
Now you're putting words in my mouth. I didn't say I didn't allow. The report was brought when the presiding officer was here. It was handled by the Right Honorable TT, and it was forwarded to the Committee of Budget. That is when the supplementary was brought, not so. Yes, Honorable Katesh.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, before I present the committee's report, I beg to lay on the table the following documents.
There's a procedural matter from PM.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, like the government chief whip told you, the president is in South Africa, and I allowed a number of ministers to move with him. And one of them, the minister in charge of that docket we are going to discuss, and some of his other colleagues are out in the field. Is it procedurally right for us to continue without those ministers who are the docket managers?
Honorable members, it is not any matter of procedure on that issue. The Prime Minister can only ask for an extension. Basically that, to bring for the ministers to be here.
That Honorable Speaker, I beg your indulgence to allow me mobilize the minister in charge of that docket to come tomorrow.
So we can have the report tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay.
I beg.
Honorable members, we cannot discuss a matter where the members, the line minister is not in the house. It's like you want to crack water out of a stone. The leader of government business has said, let's have it tomorrow. There is no problem having it tomorrow. The chair has ruled that let's have it tomorrow. Tomorrow we shall reach there. Huh? Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I have no qualms with the Right Honorable asking for extension of time, but the order paper is a very precious document. There are a lot of people out there, members of parliament, who want business on that paper, and cannot get there because of the congestion. We would like to implore you, because a lot of business on the order paper is government business. And the Prime Minister said some of the ministers are in the field. Did they go to the field after seeing the order paper? Did they sleep in the field? The order paper has been available for more than 24 hours. But, Speaker, I think we need to be very clear, because I had wanted a business on the other paper, but I saw it congested. So we ask the Prime Minister to be fair to Parliament. Next time we are going to oppose to her asking overtime. When he sends people to the field, when you have business on the other paper and other people's business is pending, not on the other paper, right, Honourable Speaker. We get disorganized, we prepare for Parliament. So when people come here and then it's altered because some people chose otherwise and not to be in Parliament, we hesitate, right, Honourable Speaker, with due respect.
Thank you. The guidance is taken with humility. Yes, Nathan, Chairman of BCU. You want to speak about the same thing?
Yeah, Madam Speaker, thank you so much for the opportunity. Yes, Madam Speaker, I checked my email last week, is when I saw the order paper for this week. And Madam Speaker, the reason I want to seek your indulgence is that if we start the procedure that when a minister is not around, a report will not be presented. You are going to make this minister.
No, today will be the last time. Please. Today will be a last time.
Okay, well, okay. If that's the last, but what I'm trying to tell the Prime Minister through you, this order paper came out last week. And I'm sure the Prime Minister discussed with you business as it is allowed. You, the Prime Minister and the leader of opposition, and the government chief whip, you discussed. Having discussed, why did the Prime Minister tell you that the minister for that docket, which is on the order paper, will not be around? And this is, Madam Speaker, if you're not careful, okay, you have said this is the last one, but if you're not careful, they will play under that. And I know Nepal, Prime Minister is good at that.
Honorable Nathan, it is the first time I'm seeing a member warn the speaker, but I take your warning positively. Me, I'm a humble servant. Honorable members, we are actually wasting time. Can we move on to the next item?
Item 7, Bill second reading, the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Amendment Bill 2022.
The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Bill 2022 be read for the second time. I beg to move.
Is the bill seconded? Is the bill seconded? Seconded by Oda, Ogwang, Silwanyi. You guys, you don't know what you want. Namiyango, my OB, David, seconded by Roland, by Umoma, by Jane, by Achibu. Thank you. Honorable Minister, do you want to speak to your motion?
Madam Speaker, the object of the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Bill 2022.
You go ahead.
Madam Speaker, the object of the bill is to amend the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Act 2003 to provide for the use of the word microfinance bank for microfinance deposit taking institutions, provide for Islamic banking, provide for bank assurance, provide for agent banking, provide for special access to the credit reference bureau by other accredited credit providers and service providers, and provide for other related matters. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that this bill has been processed by the committee, and the committee is ready to report back to the House.
Thank you. There's the bill which is before us, the Microfinance Post-Taking Institutions Amendment Bill. And Honorable Prime Minister, I would suggest next time that when we have serious bills, members should be taken for a training to know what a bill is about. We may need to do this together. Because you're talking about a microfinance deposit-taking amendment, people don't know what it is. We need to get to understand what it is. So you need, when you're giving us the objective, when you talk about Islamic banking, tell us briefly about Islamic banking. When you talk about basically that. Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the committee, I beg to present the committee of the report. I beg to present the report of the committee. But before I present the report of the committee, allow me to lay on table the minutes of the meeting that the committee had in processing the bill, which included meetings with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, the Bank of Uganda, the Uganda Bankers Association, and the Association of Microfinance Deposit-Taking Institutions. I've also attached a number of presentations that were received in the process of scrutinizing the bill. I beg to lay.
Please lay.
Madam Speaker, the bill focuses mainly on the what I refer to as tier 3 institutions, microfinance institutions. And actually there are 4 in the main. It focuses on UGAFORD, Pride Microfinance, yes, FINICA, and EFC Uganda. The Honorable Minister has outlined the object of the bill. In the main, it's to allow the use of the word bank by the 4 institutions, the microfinance deposit-taking institutions, to provide for Islamic banking, provide for these agencies to be able to offer the services of insurance, which is referred to as bank insurance, to provide for agent banking, provide for special access to credit differentiation by credit providers and service providers. And it allows for any other related matters. It's justified in a way that the provision of the act, the existing act, which is being amended, at the moment are barriers to new financial products and development of innovative solutions, innovative offerings, which may be less costly and which are consumer driven. And of course, one of them is what is mentioned as Islamic banking. Then the something also about financial inclusion.
Yes.
Thank you, no speaker. No speaker. The chair of the committee has a report on our iPads. And I thought he was going to follow to read the report. But it's as if he's moving a bill, he's reading his own notes. Where is he getting them from? Yet before no speaker, you have defined a number of reports because of not being loaded on our iPads. So, and it's a common practice, no speaker, with my good friend, the doctor from Chiboga.
Then the report on the iPad?
Yes, but he should be referring to his report and on which page is following. Otherwise, is as if he's educating this house. So let him proceed. Would it be okay for him to go to the report, background of the study as we follow his report, other than using his own notes, which are not part of what is indicated on the iPad? No speaker.
Doctor, he's making a summary of the report.
And Madam Speaker, what I thought I would do is to summarize, especially the stakeholders' views, and then I concentrate, I read.
On observations and recommendations.
Yes, but first I thought I would summarize.
There are some trivial things that you really don't need. Hmm? Stop disturbing me. Sit. You read the report.
I read the whole report.
Yes. Read as it is.
Okay, the microfinance, page 1, report of the Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development on the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Amendment Bill 2022. The Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Amendment Bill 2023 was read for the first time by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development on the 22nd of November 2022. It was then referred to the Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development for consideration in accordance with the Rule 128 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. There are currently only 4 entities regulated under the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Act 2003, namely Uganda, Pride Microfinance, Finica, and EFC Uganda. Methodology. The committee held meetings and received submissions from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Bank of Uganda, Central Bank, the Uganda Bankers Association, Finica Uganda, Ugaford, Pride Microfinance, Deposit Protection Fund, Association of Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions of Uganda, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, and Uganda Cooperative Savings and Credit Union Limited, UKUSU.
The Finica is Finca.
Thank you, Madam. Finca. The committee further made reference to the following literature. The Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Act 2003, the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions Act and Money Lenders Act of 2016, the Financial Institutions Act 2004 as amended, the Cooperative Societies Act 112, CAP 112 as amended, the Financial Institutions Division Minimum Capital Requirement Instrument S1 number 30 of 2022, the core principles for effective banking supervision, the Basel principles, the International Financial Reporting Standards, the International Accounting Standards, the Bank of Uganda Consolidated Corporate Governance Guidelines. Background to the bill. Object of the bill, I think we've dealt with the object. I don't have to go through that. Justification for the Microfinance Deposit-Taking Institutions Amendment Bill. The objective of the Microfinance Deposit-Taking Institutions Amendment Act 2003 was to provide for the licensing, regulation, and supervision of microfinance businesses in Uganda, and to provide for related matters. At the time of the enactment of the MDI Act 2003, it was considered adequate in ensuring that the microfinance business is better regulated than was the case prior to its enacting. However, following the review of the Microfinance Deposit-Taking Institutions Act 2003, some provisions in the current legislation were found to be barriers to the new financial products development and innovations, which are less costly and consumer-driven. For instance, the Act does not permit for the conduct of Islamic banking, which has become a popular form of microfinance business, especially because of its less reliance on interest. This is particularly significant for government, which would benefit in terms of program funding without having to incur huge fees or huge interest rates. Further, the Microfinance Deposit-Taking Institutions Act 2003 is lacking in terms of financial inclusion. The amendments contained in the bill are intended to bring financial services closer to the people. For instance, the proposal to use microfinance institutions to sell insurance is in a way of achieving financial inclusion for a large proportion of population with less cost. Further, the bill seeks to enable microfinance institutions bring services closer to the people by the use of agents who are not necessarily within the banking system. Stakeholders' views, and this is what we were told. For one, amendment of Section 3 of the Principal Act, extending the application of the MDI Act to the registered societies. Section 3 of the Principal Act states that the law applies to microfinance deposit-taking institutions. The Ministry of Finance seeks to extend the application of the MDI Act to registered societies, cooperative societies. The ministry seeks to bring SACCOs with institutional capacity above 500 million and voluntary savings in excess of 1 billion under the supervision of the central bank. The Ministry of Finance states that while SACCOs with a threshold of 1 billion in savings and over 500 in institutional capital are practically under the supervision of the central bank, there is need to bring them under the ambit of the central bank through clear regulation. The Ministry of Finance and the central bank are cognizant of the fact that the structures, modalities, operations, and principles of SACCOs are different from those of the MDIs. However, they seek to bring the cooperative societies under the supervision of the central bank by including them in the MDI Act. Ukusku presented the following arguments in their opposition. Ukusu strenuously objected to this, and this is what they had to say about it. One, that if the SACCOs are brought under the supervision of the central bank through the MDI Amendment Bill, the provisions of the MDI Act would apply despite the fact that the two are set out as fundamentally different in principles, that they seek to attain different goals, and that their operation structures, regulations, and goals are not in tandem with the MDI's way of working. Secondly, that the SACCOs were averse to being brought under the ambit of the central bank through the MDI Act because this is exacerbating the already existing challenges of having various legal regimes regulating, overseeing, and supervising SACCOs. This only serves to create a retrogressive environment, not just for the SACCOs, but for all the players generally. The net effect of having multiple regulators with the Ministry of Trade, Uganda, Uganda Manufacturer, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, and now the central bank is leaving a disintegrated subsector with no clear line of allegiance to a single regulator, while at the same time creating a multiplicity of roles and reporting lines, which will inevitably increase the cost of managing the SACCOs. Thirdly, the third objection was that bundling the SACCOs with the MDIs will alter the SACCO's identity and values, and at the worst, increase the cost of doing business, which will essentially defeat the very fundamentals of SACCOs and what they stand for and who they serve. The representative from the SACCOs union argued that the SACCOs are concerned with members' welfare and cooperation, while the MDIs are more profit-driven and speculative in nature. Okusku noted that the concerns raised by members of the committee with regard to the oversight of the SACCOs, especially safety of members' funds, and the risk that the large SACCOs may present, especially in the event of loss of members' funds. They argued that similar concerns were raised in Kenya, but all these were addressed, and the SACCOs were left under the regulation of a single regulator, SACCO Societies Regulatory Authority. Lastly, the SACCOs argued that putting them under MDI Act will not only detract them from their course, but it will also create a gap between the large SACCOs and the small ones. The small ones may lose, but on opportunities of mentorship and training from the large SACCOs, since they will be bogged down with meeting the rigorous requirements of the central bank, I will not have time to attend to the small SACCOs. So that's the first issue on which the Ministry of Finance is seeking amendment. The second one was amendment of Section 5 of the Principal Act to permit MDIs to use the word microfinance bank after its name. Section 5 of the MDI Act 2003 and Section 7 of the Finance Institutions Act 2004 restrict the use of the word bank to a bank licensed by central bank to conduct business in Uganda. So a microfinance institution like private microfinance cannot refer to itself as microfinance bank. The Financial Institutions Act defines a bank to mean any company licensed to carry on financial institutions business as its principal business, as specified in the second schedule to the Act, and includes all branches and offices of that company in Uganda. Financial institutions business is further defined in the Financial Institutions Act. Clause 4 of the amendment bill seeks to amend Section 5 of the Microfinance Deposit-Taking Institutions Act 2003, and consequently Section 7 of the Financial Institutions Act to allow MDIs to use the word bank following their name. This will therefore allow MDIs to be referred to as microfinance bank. The Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development argued that the word bank is associated with safety and reliability. The MDI stated that because they do not have the word bank, they have lost their prospective and some existing customers who opt to deposit their money with the commercial banks that they perceive to be safer. These same customers, however, run back to MDIs when borrowing or looking to raise funds for a project, business, to meet quick pressure needs and all. This makes it hard for MDIs to mobilize deposits to match the borrowing demand. This has in turn forced MDIs to borrow at very high interest rates from the commercial banks to be able to lend to the customers. Page 5. I'm on page 5. The MDIs argue that while they face rigorous regulation and have similar regulatory controls as Tier 1 and Tier 2 financial institutions, their clients do not entrust them with the deposit, but instead their clients take their deposit to Tier 1 and Tier 2 banks because they are using the word bank, which they don't have. They argue that allowing them to use the word bank will enable them to compete fairly with Tier 1 and Tier 2 banks, since they will be in a position to mobilize keeper funds for onward lending and at a more affordable price or rate. They further stated that the public will be able to differentiate them from Tier 1 and Tier 2 banks, since they will be referred to as microfinance banks. Page 6. This will further differentiate them from Tier 4 microfinance institutions regulated under UMRA. Bank of Uganda, while agreeing with the Ministry of Finance, noted that financial institutions in Tier 1 and 2, Tier 1, 2, and 3 undergo similar regulatory controls under the central bank. The bank determines their licensing, determines their capital, determines their corporate governance and equity requirements. They argued that their degree of regulatory compliance, not only with the regulatory framework, but with international standards and the Basel principle, is similar to that of Tier 1 and Tier 2 banks. So same governance structure, same requirements. The Association of Microfinance Institutions of Uganda, AMFIU, and this is the umbrella organization for MDIs, Uganda Bankers Association, and the Deposit Protection Fund, noted that MDIs...
Yes, the procedure is allowed.
Madam Speaker, you said the Prime Minister will give a statement, but she's running away.
No, the Prime Minister will give us a written statement tomorrow. Which 30,000? I have never seen a house that loves the Prime Minister like this one. No, she will give a statement tomorrow. Members, we have to finish this bill. We have 2 bills today.
The Association of Microfinance Institutions, an organization of MDI, Uganda Bankers Association, and Deposit Protection Fund noted that MDIs are disadvantaged without the word bank because their customers are skeptical about depositing their funds with them. The MDIs are confused. Sometimes they are mistaken with Tier 4 non-deposit taking financial institutions, such as SACCOs and money lenders, who are not under the stringent regulatory control of the central bank, and who have even higher interest rates. MDIs further argued that restricting the use of the word bank is a barrier to Uganda's saving culture. They informed the committee that Uganda's saving culture is one of the lowest in sub-Saharan Africa, especially among the low-income earners, which is a serious impediment to further economic growth.
Procedure, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, a while ago, the Minister for Works was asked to go and reconcile the documents. And we were expecting him back in the House so that we proceed on the same.
Can we finish what is on what
Madam
is being
Speaker,
handled? Then the minister will come.
Madam Speaker, you've just communicated that we have two bills. And I'm worried that within there, even the roads should have been mentioned, Madam Speaker, because the status
is a report, a status of roads a bill. There is a difference between a bill and a report. We have two bills on top of what we have on the report. How do you educate your neighbor?
So, Madam Speaker, I'm happy now you've mentioned the report. So the minister might disappear.
Yes. Honorable member, I think you summarized that report. Yeah, summarize, go to recommendations. Huh? The person who was saying he wants you to read is a board person already. So can you summarize, give us recommendations? Huh? Just go to the recommendations.
Okay. Okay, observation. On page 13. Observations. Issue 1, allowing the bank, the MDIs to use the word bank. So that, just as an example, Pride Microfinance becomes Pride Microfinance Bank. And this is, okay, issue 1, amendment of section 3 of the Principal Act to extend the application of the Microfinance Deposit-Taking Institutions Act to registered societies, cooperative societies. The committee observed that while the movers of the bill sought to bring the registered societies, which have been defined as cooperative societies under this act, they were cognizant of the fact that the registered societies and MDIs were fundamentally different right from their structures, operations, goals, and general regulatory framework. The committee agreed with the Minister of Finance, the Central Bank, and so the committee agreed with the Minister of Finance, we agreed with the Central Bank, we agreed with the UKUSCU that the principles, structures, and mode of operation of SACCOs were fundamentally different from those of MDI. The committee further observed that in fact it was erroneous for the registered societies to be brought under this act, given the cited differences, fundamental differences. While the committee was cognizant of the need to have rigorous supervision and oversight, especially for the large SACCOs, they observed that bringing them under MDI Act was not an ideal situation. The committee proposes that particular attention should be paid to SACCOs, especially the large ones, given the risk they may face or they may pose. The committee advised that either a more rigorous regulatory regime be set out for the SACCOs or have the oversight role shifted to the Central Bank, but under a different law, not in the MDI Act, not in the MDI bill. The committee noted that there is need for further, I'll leave that out, because it has been overtaken by events.
Please read it.
The committee noted that there is need for further benchmarking, especially with Kenya, to appreciate how circles have been handled to cover all the possible loopholes noted with their governance and supervision.
Honorable members, laws are not static. They can be reviewed. So you'll benchmark later, but not soliciting money from accounting officers.
Okay, recommendation. The committee recommends that clause 2, amending section 3 of the Principal Act, is amended by deleting registered societies. 2, that the committee carries out, okay, again, that has been overtaken by event, but issue number 2,
Madam Speaker, this is a report of a committee of parliament. The chair behaves as if he's reading a draft. Because we have a report we are following. After one paragraph, he says this has been overtaken. The procedure issue I am raising.
We have
Madam
told you
Speaker,
to summarize the recommendations and then don't leave out what you think affects you.
okay, the recommendation number 2 was that the committee carries out a study visit to countries with robust registered societies to appreciate the regulation of registered societies, such as Kenya, Namibia, and Canada.
Honorable members, you listen to the report. They want to go and do benchmarking on the word bank in Canada.
No, that was.
Can you summarize? Go to.
So that was on clause. That was on the first proposed amendment of bringing the circles under the MDI Control Act, MDI Act. Issue number 2, clause 5 of Principal Act, permitting an MDI to use the word microfinance bank after its name. The following issues and proposals were raised by members in regard to the use of the word bank by MDIs. Whether or not the MDIs apply the same degree of rigor as commercial banks in conforming with international banking standards, including Basel 1, 2, and 3, and international accounting standards as permitted the use of the word bank in their names. The committee observed that commercial banks have their capital and equity requirement for licensing to justify the use of the word bank as compared to MDIs. The Financial Institutions Division Minimum Capital Act requirement, Instrument 1, number 30 of 22, set the minimum capital requirement for financial institutions at 150 billion and for MDIs at 10 billion. The committee raised concern that the difference in capital requirements may imply more rigor in the requirements for establishing and operating a Tier 1 financial institution as compared to an MDI, and that referring to both as banks may be misleading on that front. However, the Uganda Bankers Association, Bank of Uganda, MDIs, UMRA, and the Ministry of Finance assured the committee that other than paid up capital requirement, MDIs face the same degree of rigor and scrutiny from Bank of Uganda and follow the same local international standards of operation before they are licensed. MDIs further differentiated banks as applied to Tier 1 institutions and microfinance bank as proposed in clause 4B 2 of the bill. The MDI stated that since the banks are as in tiers, they will be able to differentiate between tier 1, 2, 3, and 3, since the microfinance deposit-taking institution will be referred to as microfinance bank. The other issue that was observed by the committee and which we had to debate was whether adding the word bank to MDIs will have an effect on the interest rate. The committee observed that MDIs were emphatic on using the word bank because this will enable them to mobilize deposits. With increase in deposits, the MDIs will not have to borrow from commercial banks, which has been the practice, but rather mobilize the same deposit for onward lending. With the mobilization of deposits for onward lending, the MDIs will be able to lend at lower interest rates. This will not only boost access to capital for the low-income savers and earners, but will encourage financial inclusion and further spur economic growth. Issue number 3, whether using the word bank shall not be misleading to the average Ugandan. The committee expressed concern that when MDIs use the word bank, they may mislead customers who will assume that interest rates and stringent requirements that apply to banks will apply to MDIs too. However, this was rebutted by the Uganda Bankers Association and MDIs, who argued that, to the contrary, this will help customers to differentiate MDIs regulated by the central bank from those regulated under Tier 4 by the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. MDIs felt strongly about differentiating them from the Tier 4 microfinance institution, while being called microfinance banks will differentiate the Tier 1 and Tier 2 from Tier 3. It also helped differentiate them from Tier 4 microfinance. The MDIs claim that the Tier 4 entities have exorbitant interest rates and that their regulation is not as rigorous as their Tier 3 microfinance institution, with a perception from the public that the banks post confidence for the public. Thus, they need to be differentiated, but to be allowed to use the word bank. The other issue that we considered was whether or not existing MDIs and regulated by a central bank cannot be upgraded Tier 4, while prohibiting new applicants for Tier 4 finance from using the word bank. There was a proposal by the committee to upgrade existing MDIs to Tier 1 institutions, as opposed to permitting all MDIs to use the word microfinance bank in their name. However, the Ministry of Finance and Bank of Uganda pointed out that this would be more complex and it will require them to raise their paid-up capital or reduce the paid-up capital of all Tier 1 institutions. That while they may be regulated with the same rigor, the MDIs do not have the capacity to upgrade and meet the minimum capital requirement of the Tier 1 banks. The other issue was whether products, financial services proposed to be availed to MDIs by bill, including agency banking and bank assurance, cannot be offered without the inclusion of the word bank in their name. The product proposed by the bill to be extended to MDIs, including agent banking, bank assurance, and Islamic banking, can be offered without the use of the word bank. MDIs and the Uganda Bankers Association explained to the committee that the use of the word bank is not only to allow MDIs to offer the above-mentioned financial products.
I don't
I've heard you saying what is the MDIs?
But no speaker.
Microfinance deposit institutions. And when you hear the member talking about tier, in the banking, there are 4 tiers. There is Tier 1, Tier 2, 3, and Tier 4. In Tier 1, that is the commercial banks. the banks like Centenary Bank, Stanbic Bank, and that kind of thing. This one, I'm talking now as a banker. When you're talking about tier 2, yes.
Madam Speaker, I agree with what you are saying, but you see, this report has no page for acronyms. Now, when you talk about MDI Act, we get it. But you say MDIs, which was not abbreviated, there will be some confusion in our report and on the answer. So I don't know. I agree with what you have said, but I think the reader and the chairman.
If there is no chronology, you mention the names.
Yes, no, if you say MDI Act, but once say MDIs, it's very different from what we are reading here.
The Microfinance Deposit Institutions.
Act.
Institutions. It is not the act.
Okay. Thank you, Rano Speaker.
It's actually defined on page 1. If you look at page 1 of
Page
the report,
1.
is MDI is defined.
Did you read page 1?
Madam Speaker, I started from page 3.
Chairman, can you conclude?
Okay, the other.
Honorable members, the issue in this report is basically defining what a bank is and whether the MDIs, the microfinance deposit institutions, should also be given the title a bank. And the central bank is saying no. A bank is a financial institution that takes deposits and fixed deposits and simultaneously gives loans. So there's a difference between what a banker is vis-a-vis what is in MDIs. Basically that, and then the admission of Islamic banking into the system.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Okay. In a summary, the other issues that we considered whether the word banking affiliated institutions cannot be applied, which we thought will not be appropriate and would complicate things even further. And therefore, on the basis of all that, the committee recommends that clause 4, amending section 5 of the Principal Act, be maintained as proposed in the bill. Be maintained.
Have we gone to committee level?
We are dealing with the recommendations now, Madam Speaker. I'm on page 16.
You summarize those ones we shall discuss at committee level.
Okay, the other one is amending the Principal Act to authorize MDI, microfinance deposit.
That is still committee stage?
Yes, madam.
Yes.
To undertake agency banking. The committee recommends that the Principal Act be amended to authorize the microfinance deposit-taking institution to undertake agent banking. And we note that we will enable them to reach much deeper in the community and even bring more in the financial inclusion, which is a problem at the moment. Issue number 4 is about amending the Principal Act to authorize MDIs to undertake bank insurance. The committee recommends that the Principal Act be amended to authorize the microfinance deposit-taking institutions.
Yes, Honorable Sarah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the chairperson has been presenting his report, but there have been a lot of interruptions, partially because people are not following. So, Right Honorable Speaker, since the report has been uploaded and we have the bill, I propose, Right Honorable
She's
Speaker.
on procedure. No.
Would it not be procedure right Honorable Speaker, that since the report has been uploaded, we move straight to the bill and move clause by clause and have this matter concluded? Would it not be procedural rights, right, Honorable Speaker?
Honorable members, what was your order? What were you ordering on?
You see, my colleague has made a very grave mistake to say that many of the members are not following, and she's now saying that those who are not following should go to committee stage. That's what I was asking, Madam Speaker. Was she in order to
Honorable members, the member is finishing with the report. Aren't you finishing with the report?
Madam Speaker, I only have 2 pages to go.
Can you finish with the report?
Okay, so we are agreeing with the Minister of Finance that microfinance deposit taking institutions should be allowed to provide bank assurance. Issue number 5, amendment of the Principal Act to authorize MDIs to undertake Islamic banking. Now, we noted in the committee that this is a growing phenomenon. In Kenya, it is grown from about 1.6 to over 2 billion as a portfolio of Islamic banking. And it's most of the assets in Kenya on this portfolio are over 10%, which is a growing phenomenon. In Uganda, at the moment, it's allowed, but there are still some technicalities which are making it difficult to roll it out. But we are recommending it for the MDI.
So after we pass this bill, the technicalities will be removed. MDIs can start operating Islamic banking.
Yes, madam.
Okay. In conclusion?
In conclusion, the committee recommends that you approve the bill with amendments.
Thank you, honorable members. You've heard. You can open a debate are you debating on the report or you have a procedure? Debate on the report. Don't raise on procedure.
Thank you.
Gilbert.
Thank you. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to appreciate the chair. And looking at the recommendations of the report, mostly all the recommendations are gearing towards discussing what is in the bill. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to propose that it would be good to go straight to the committee state so that we discuss more exhaustively. Because if you look at the recommendations, either is accepting that the bill be that, you know, they according to the committee recommendations, they are either saying it should be right, Speaker, it'll be good. It'll be good for us to go straight to the committee state. This is what I'm trying to push out, Right, Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Moma.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Moma.
Thank you very much. Right, Honourable Speaker, I have to thank the committee for the good report. Right, Honourable Speaker, I want to agree with the position of Ukusuk, whereby they are saying we should not merge cooperatives, SACCOs, under MDIs. This is the way to go, because our Minister of Finance has not done much to develop the SACCOs, but they will do much to stifle the operations. So it's better we manage them under a separate law. That is the first recommendation. I want to agree with the position of the committee and the Okusuk members. Secondly, about Islamic banking, Right Honourable Speaker, we did pass a law on how to run Islamic banking in this country. But because of some technicalities, it has not been felt in the countryside. By us allowing MDIs that are established nationwide. I think it will help us have a feel to touch this facility under Islamic banking. So I want to agree with that proposition.
Thank you, thank you. Maybe what matters in banking is the outreach. You can have your product, but how far can it go? So having microfinance, having Islamic banking in microfinance deposit institutions is going to help us to solve a financial issue. Yes, yes, procedure.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm addressing myself to Rule 204, sub Rule 5B. That rule prohibits debate on report of a committee on bills. So I want to know if we will not be breaching the rules of procedure by allowing a debate on this matter before 3 days expire from the time the report is presented and laid on table. I thank you.
Next person. It is not an entrenched rule. I therefore suspend it. Jonah?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to agree and support the committee's position in rejecting the attempt to bring registered societies, including the Bible Society of Uganda and SACCOs. Because I looked through the bill, there was no definition of a registered society, and I know many. But this is an attempt to bring any institution, any organization that is mobilizing resources within the ambit of the central bank. And I think that we understand as members of SACCO that SACCOs have been over-regulated. In some cases, it has multiple regulations. The regulations are conflicting against each other, and there is already a proposal coming from different stakeholders that we need to look into that. So we cannot add confusion to already a very difficult situation. So I agree and invite members to support the committee, and we delete that clause from the bill. Secondly, I have very strong disagreement with the use of the word bank on MDIs. You are either a bank or you are not. It's as simple as that. You are either a bank or you are not a bank. Trying to find ways which are very deceptive under justifications that we are not mobilizing resources. The public is doubting us. You are supposed to deal with your business in a way that the public can trust you. So you cannot circumvent by hiding under the word bank, and then you begin to say you should be allowed to use it. So, Madam Speaker, I invite members that we should not accept this. We are going to bring confusion in the banking sector. We are going to cause, we are going to fall under the international standards, and this should not be accepted. In fact, I am surprised, Madam Speaker, that after the committee asked 5 questions, 5 issues, only 1 was answered in the affirmative. All the 4 on the use of the word bank were answered in the negative, but the committee still went to reach a very wrong conclusion. I wonder whether you are actually paying attention to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Can you leave Attorney General to listen?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I would like to thank the chairperson for the report. I did listen attentively, but I in particular was interested in the enlisted objects of the bill. Very curious that the bill had eyes and ears, and he has mentioned, because it was basically looking at, is it 4 MDIs that had wanted and sought to adopt the use of bank for the objectives they have enlisted, such as encouraging their customers from being closer because bank is, the acronym bank is attractive. And for me, that's where the cat is let out of the bag. Honorable Speaker, I would like to seek the clarification of the Land Attorney General, because from the use of the word bank casually and locally, it has far-reaching implications on an international scale when you're dealing with the transfers of money. And in the FIA, the Financial Services Act, and the BOU Act, the definition is imperative and purposive. I don't know whether the chairperson prefers that when we make this amendment, there's cross-referencing to give the same meaning, or this meaning is just for business purposes, and therefore will draw serious repercussions legally when transactions are being done for this purpose. So I like the Land Attorney General to clarify whether this is not going to cause us serious problems of interpretation at transaction level, because somebody transacting from afar will want to understand what he's dealing with. Codes can easily cause a lot of challenges, that we are clear on that. Secondly, this is operational, because in the objective D of the bill, the implementation of the proposed amendment bill will lead to increased tax base for government. And this is the concern of the Honorable Jonathan, that even the Bible Society is being brought to under the ambit of this act for purposes of taxation and expanding government revenue, which is not bad. But the long term is that these societies can easily collapse, and the weight of over-regulation. We would like to see further financial deepening and widening, and bringing two more people into the purview of financial transactions, but it must be progressive. I think this is really dipping them into the farther end of the sea when they're just starting. Sooner than later, the Minister of Finance will report on the progression of the PDM. And one of the reasons why the PDM is a pipe dream is because even small circles have failed to be registered. And they cannot be, brought into the purview of what the Minister of Finance would love to see to afford them access to public funds. So I would like to seek the comfort of the Land Attorney General and the Minister of Finance, whether we are not hurrying so much, or actually we can cascade what we want to do and give further more time to some of these societies to evolve organically and not drag them into the purview of the taxman. The taxman is very unforgiving. It does not give a damn leaving you closed to say he's doing their job, because the law is allowed them to do that. Are we not hurrying? Can we probably, because I would have expected the program for when the committee observed some of these gaps, they did not advise on the alternative to be done. Yet we made very good observations in their interaction, but they are short of alternatives. And it's not because there is absence of the law. The law for societies is there. The law for MDIs is there. Probably we can stick to the 4 or 5 that were envisaged by the bill, and say the other layers can be cascaded progressively. I don't know, Speaker, I'm trying to think aloud, because I'm not sure that even this report, those who read this report on the Hansard might fail to understand the objectives of this bill. Speaker, I find the report a bit hazy in being clear and unequivocal on what they intend to achieve. That's why it is back and forth and then back to where they began from. We need to be very clear whether we are going to achieve the objective for which we want to have this law amended, because I don't think eventually we are very clear and intentional on what we want to achieve. We seem to be on a wild goose chase, and somehow along the way, we are trying to hunt whatever we shall take, whatever we shall find on the way, pick it and go with it. So when we're going for an antelope, you go for an antelope. What are you going for? Everything in the hunting ground? The bill seems to be on a fishing expedition, right, Honourable Speaker, and it scares me a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to give information? Okay.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I just need to provide some information about the object of the bill. One is basically to provide the products, the banking products to MDIs. The microfinance deposit institutions, Madam Chair, are actually in tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. Tier 1 to 3 is regulated by the central bank, by Bank of Uganda.
Yes.
Tier 4, which is basically registered societies and SACCOs, are regulated by the Microfinance Regulatory Authority. So what the minister was requesting us to do, number one, is to allow the MDIs, tier 1 to 4, to use the word bank, and they have provided justifications. And as a committee, we said it is okay for tier 1 to 3, but not for tier 4, which is registered societies and SACCOs, to use the word bank. The second one is also to allow them use banking products like Islamic banking, and also use a distribution network like banking, the agency banking, for these MDIs to have access to that. And we as a committee, we agreed, Right Honorable Speaker, that tier 1 to 3 of MDIs can use the Islamic banking products, at the same time using the agency network systems, but not tier 4, which is basically SACCOs and registered societies. This is actually the element of this bill. And the only thing which we requested for benchmarking, Right Honorable Speaker, was in Kenya.
Honorable members, this gives you the whole objective of the whole
It's all
report.
gist of the matter is around these two items. And they are not sophisticated. The only issue which Honorable Jonathan has raised.
The member on the floor is a member of the Committee on Finance that processed this bill and the report. I don't know why he did not put that good information in the report. Or this is a vote of no confidence in his chairman. The procedure issue I am raising, Madam Speaker, because point of information is given to someone holding the floor. There is actually nobody, because the leader of opposition.
He was giving information and clarity to the leader of opposition who gladly accepted.
So we still have the leader of opposition on the floor. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I now put a question, the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institution Amendment Bill 2022 be read for the second time. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, I want you to appreciate this bill. It's going to help you so much. One, the aspect of bringing the aspect of a bank into tier 4 is what the committee is saying. Don't bring a word bank into tier 4. When you look at the definition of what a bank is, it's a financial institution that takes deposits, fixed deposits, and then simultaneously gives loans. But you find that tier 4 does not give fixed deposits. Okay? And tier 3. And then you look at an aspect of the capital that is also contributed, the regulating body. Who does the regulation? Okay? And then the issue of the interest. And we're also saying that we have a very good product in the market. And the product that we have is Islamic banking. How do we introduce Islamic banking into the microfinance sector? And we are saying that the Islamic banking should be accommodated in tier 1, 2, and 3, not tier 4. Hajat, you're dying. What is happening?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I find that justification given for MDI is becoming banks a wrong justification. Their justification is that people run away from them because they're not banks. Yet,
Yes.
actually, people run to them because they are not banks. Because they are called microfinance, the small people with small monies are happy to go there. And people fear banks, actually. So the justification they are giving is a very wrong justification. And for that, I think we should desist. Like it's like we are debating. Councillors saying we want to be called members of
Honorable.
parliament because we sit in parliament, something
Yes.
like a parliament. MDIs do not hold the same capital like banks. Therefore, it is wrong for them to claim to be called banks. They should stay MDIs because that's what they are, and they are limited by their capital. If they want to raise to be called
They are limited by capital, by outreach, by
several issues,
capacity,
ma'am.
governance.
Yes, thank you. So they should be what they are.
Honorable members, yes.
Right now, Speaker, my prayer through you, Madam Speaker, you see, the way you are laboring to explain to us this report, right now, Speaker,
Yes, there is an order.
Madam Speaker, a while ago you put a vote to go to the committee stage.
Pardon?
You called for a vote to go on.
Yeah, voting has been and it has been voted for. We are going out.
Is the Honorable Sewong therefore in order to begin disturbing the speaker who was taking us to committee stage?
None of them is in order. Next.
The Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Amendment Bill 2022, Bills Committee stage. Clause 1.
Chair. Clause 1.
Clause 1. Clause 1. Clause 1 is amended in paragraph J by deleting the definition of the registered society.
Justification.
Is consequential amendment to the deletion of the registered societies from the application of the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Act.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Chair, I have no objection.
I put a question that clause 1 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say the contrary. The ayes have it.
Clause 1 as amended.
I put a
Madam
question
Chair.
that clause 1 as amended stands part of the
Madam
bill.
Chair,
Those in
clause
favor say the contrary. Nay. We can go for a committee. What is it? The ayes have it.
The clause 1 number of definitions that we may need to come back and revisit in light of the debate we have had. So now that
Paragraph
we have
J.
passed, now that
Clause 1, paragraph J.
no, clause 1 as it is, it entails a number of other definitions, unless I have a different. And when we process the subsequent clauses, we might have to revisit those definitions in light of the.
Jonathan, we can come back once.
Clause 2.
Chair.
Clause 2. Clause 2 is amendment of section. Clause 2, amendment of section 3 of the Principal Act. Clause 2 is amended by deleting the words "and registered societies." The justification is to restrict the application of the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institution Act 2003 to only Tier 3 MDIs.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Chair, we have no objection. We agree with the committee.
Jonathan. I put a question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2 as amended.
I put a question that clause 2 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 3.
I put a question that clause 3 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. I put a question that clause 3 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
I put a question that clause 4 stands part of the bill.
Madam Chair, under clause 4, in light of the debate we have had and the objections that I and several members have on the use of the word bank, I move that this clause under clause 4, the word bank be deleted.
AG.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I tend to agree with the honorable member. The effect of calling this a bank will be to move it from the MDI Act to the Financial Institutions Act. That will mean that they need to meet all the obligations under the Financial Institutions Act, which I do not think is what we are looking to achieve here. So I beg to agree that the word bank be removed from this.
I put a question that clause 4 be amended as proposed by Honorable Odur Jonathan. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 4 as amended.
I put a question that clause 4 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 5.
Clause 5. Chair. Honorable Jonathan, clause 5. You're okay with it? Clause 5, I put a question that clause 5 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 6.
Clause 6. Clause 6. Yes.
I need to be helped. I may not have heard you properly, but on voting on clause 4, it's as if I heard you saying that the nays have it. So I need to be helped, Madam Speaker.
Actually, Honorable Semuju has overstayed. You first go for lunch. Clause 6. I put a question that clause 6 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 7.
Clause 7. I put a question that clause 7 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 8.
8.
This may be a consequential amendment. A consequential amendment to this issue of banking. Because if you have removed bank from the other one, then they cannot do banking. So this one here would need to amend it to have that dealt with.
Clause 8 where?
Clause 8 is dealing with the taking of deposits or funds. Yeah.
It has no banking.
Oh,
Taking deposits of funds or other property into sharing investments accounts and lending in foreign.
I withdraw. I withdraw.
Okay. I put a question that clause 8 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say under control nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 9.
I'm not seeing you. Next time you stand up.
Madam Chair, the issue we are raising is very important. But I think if you have passed it, is very dangerous. If the Attorney General never saw it, it even says lending in foreign exchange. And the moment you have withdrawn it from the banking sector, you cannot lend in foreign what? Exchange. And that's why I'm Attorney General, I would implore you to look at it again. On, you see, G, the moment we agreed that if you're a bank, you must be dealing under Financial Institutions Act. Then if you come to your lending in foreign exchange, I think we're in a problem because
Attorney General.
You can't deal with it here.
Thank you, colleague. Yeah, this clause will need to be amended, not deleted, amended to remove certain parts like lending in foreign exchange and dealing in derivatives, including in derivatives, yes. That is CJ, deleting J and deleting foreign exchange from G. Just those two and the rest can remain.
So we are recommitting.
I beg that we recommit, Right Honorable Speaker.
So can you come up with a proper text?
I'm proposing that clause 8B.
No, you'll bring it when we are going for recommittal. Clause 9.
Clause 9.
Clause 9.
Clause 9 is consequential to delete it because Sharia law is already governed by the FIA and they are licensed under the Financial Institutions Act. The Sharia, Islamic banking. So I'm moving that we delete clause 9. We delete clause 9.
Does it injure you if we have the same clause in the MDIs? Because this is for MDI. It's different from the Financial Institutions Act. They don't contradict. We are now talking about tier 4. The other one is tier 1 to 3.
Then we could just amend by adding an institution carrying on microfinance business at tier 1, 2, and 3. So we remove, yeah. To clarify on the reference to the institutions that are governed by the central bank, the clause is saying an institution carrying on microfinance business at the commencement of this act may apply to the central bank for a license. That is not correct. So we need to amend which institutions are going to the central bank.
Tier 1, 2, 3.
And 3, yes.
Yes, so what are we amending here? Let's first get this amendment, then we come to you. Yes.
Madam Chair, I think the title is what we need to change, where we say licensing of MDIs. We just add MDIs to conduct Islamic microfinance business. We licensing
Remember
of
what
MDIs,
institutions are MDIs.
we just add that, Madam Speaker, for the purposes of this law.
Honorable AG.
Madam Chair, closely related. This title, part 3A, the title is Islamic banking. which connotes what we had objected to. I'm saying on page 15, under clause 9, part 3A, the title is worded as Islamic banking, which in effect would mean that we are dealing with the banking aspect of that law. Maybe now the Attorney General can remove the word banking. I don't know whether it can be Islamic.
There's a difference between banking and bank. Those are two different words. Banking is a process, the practice. The bank is an institution. So those are two different bodies. Yes? Yes, Silo?
Right, Honorable Chair. Number one, I do believe that it's very, very important for us to observe that this bill has an interpretation clause. And whatever we define under the interpretation is actually what we mean. So if we choose to use certain words the way we use them because we are aware they are well defined. Two, under the objects of this bill, I want to believe the spirit is very clear. We would love to get it from the chair of the committee. What are you saying about this? Because if you delete 9, automatically it will have an effect on the objects of this bill. What do you have to say about this? Because in my opinion, you are the one who knows it better. What was the spirit of this?
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Honorable members, maybe we stand over this, then we come back, let them reconcile. Yes.
Madam Chair, thank you so much. I am from this bill. Madam Chair, I want to just give a background to this law first. The micro deposit institutions bill or act then when it was coming place, it was supposed to address those institutions which were not qualifying to be under the Financial Institutions Act. Yes. And now when you see them as this one now importing what is in the Financial Institutions Act, then we're making a mistake. And the reason I'm raising this is that the moment we agreed that this is not a bank, then the law should be far different from the one of the Financial Institutions Act. If they are the objects, some of these items which are in the Financial Institutions Act are here, then we're making an error to pass them here, yet they are in another law. Madam Speaker, my proposal, which I would want the government take in good faith, that this law as it is now cannot address what you want. What can be addressed is to look at the Financial Institutions Act. And then we import objects from here, which can assist those lower tiers which want to operate as commercial banks. But if we do it this way, this law will not be even implemented and it will be very dangerous. In fact, it can bring confusion in the banking sector. So, Madam Speaker, you recall the story we went through, how banks collapsed, how we came up with that law of the Financial Institutions Act 2003. We don't want to repeat it here. Many people might go under here and make people lose their money because they are acting almost seemingly like banks. So I want to ask government, if you don't mind, stay over this law, go back, ask the speaker, and we reorganize. We can give you free advice how to make it through financial institution to assist what you want to do. Thank you.
Honorable Attorney General, are we legislating the right law?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. We are legislating the correct law because our hearts are in the right place. But probably we put it in the wrong law, but the heart is in the right place. And I take the guidance of my brother there that maybe we need to go back and review the interface of this with the Financial Institutions Act and then reconcile the two.
But you also need to know that there are two laws. There is Financial Institutions Act, and then you have the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Act. They are not the same. So we are not going to go for Financial Institutions Act and leave this one. This one will stand over. I will match type.
Right, Honorable Speaker, if you give us a week, we should be able to come back here. No, my Right Honorable, the Right Honorable Speaker, we will come back here to report whether we are proceeding with this bill or not.
Honorable members, on Tuesday, we'll expect a report from AG and Finance on this bill. So we are standing over this bill to next Tuesday.
Motion for resumption of the House.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Chair, I beg to move that the House do resume and the committee of the whole House reports there too. I beg to move.
I put a question that the House does resume and the committee of the whole House reports there too. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. Let's have it.
Report of the Committee of the whole House.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the committee of the whole House has considered the bill entitled the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Bill 2022 and passed clauses 1 to 8, and we have stood over clause 9 pending harmonization.
With amendments. Passed with amendments. You do report. Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you so much. Right Honorable Speaker, if I had the honorable member from Bugisu Cooperative Society, Honorable Nandala Mafabi, he advised that probably this law, the entire law, needs to be revisited.
He advised, he did not decide.
He advised this House.
He did not decide.
He advised, Madam Speaker. And his advice, Madam Speaker, was considered by the Attorney General, was considered by the Speaker. Are we proceeding well?
We said we are standing over. Standing over and report back on Tuesday, and we will either continue or not.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the wise ruling. Maybe my friend Honorable Sabe should also know that I'm just reporting what happened, about what happened. Madam Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the whole House has considered the bill entitled the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Bill 2022 and passed clauses 1 to 8 with amendments.
Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee of the whole House.
Honorable Minister.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the report from the committee of the whole House be adopted.
I put a question that the House adopts the report of the committee of the whole House. Those in favor say aye and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Item 8, Bill second reading, the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022.
Honorable
Thank you very
Minister.
much. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. In accordance with Rule 130 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022 be read for the second time.
Is the bill seconded? Seconded by Siluanyi, by Uda, by Finance, by Government Chief Whip, Isavire, Zovia, Brenda, by Doctor, 2 doctors, Honorable All, by Honorable Chairman of Sports Parliament, by Aru, by Solo, by Gilbert, by Anifa, Milton, Fred. Do you want to speak a little bit of your, by Honorable Samo, the disabilities? Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. On Tuesday, 6th of December 2022, a bill entitled the Physical Activity and Sports Bill 2022 was in accordance with the Rule 128 of the Rules of Procedure of the Parliament.
Speaker, the procedural matter relates to the item that has been called item number 8, which is the National Sports Bill 2021, moved by the private member. The Honorable Minister is speaking about another bill we are aware called the Physical Activity and Sports Bill. So that's where I'm raising so that we get clarification if he has become the mover or government has taken over on this bill, or he is speaking on a bill that is not existent before this House.
Honorable Jonathan, we had 2 bills in the House. We had one moved by the private member, and then we had one from government. And because of the financial implications, we asked the 2 to go and harmonize and come up with one report, just like what we did for succession. So they've come with one report, and that's the report that is going to be presented.
Madam Speaker, this is 2021 was a private member's bill. If this is now the one which is harmonized, then we would have gone back to bring a harmonized bill to deal with this matter. Madam Speaker, if we move like this, we're going to have a problem. And I'm begging your indulgence.
Why don't we listen to the report? Let's get the report. You want to give information? Yes, as a committee member, let's listen to the report, and from that report we shall determine.
Madam Speaker, just to give information, I think the only issue is that in the background,